don't actually need another system and tool online to manage all of your clients or onboard all your clients or offboard all of your clients. ClickUp can literally do all of that for you, and I'm going to show you how. Hello. If you're new here, my name is Amanda Kolbye, and I am a seven-figure entrepreneur and a business coach that helps entrepreneurs start and scale their online businesses using social media. So on this channel, you're going to find all the things: marketing, sales, entrepreneurship, lifestyle stuff, as well as digital nomad content, because I also happen to travel the world full time. So don't forget to like and subscribe so we can keep creating all this content for you. And let's dive into ClickUp, which, by the way, is like my love language. It's like spreadsheets that are color-coded with formulas. I have to add the formulas in. And then ClickUp. Two love languages. If you don't agree with me, well, that's too bad. Anyways, let's dive in. So ClickUp is like one of the most amazing tools. Clearly, I'm obsessed with it, and this is not a sponsored video, but it is one of the most amazing tools to use in your business because, especially as an online entrepreneur, you have to have a central hub where you're keeping all of your information, you're managing your team, you're assigning tasks, because y'all, if you haven't already found it out now in your business, like your brain cannot keep track and organize all that stuff. So ClickUp is a project management tool. It's not technically a CRM system, a client management system, right? But it can be, and it is absolutely amazing at doing this for you, because one thing as an entrepreneur is we have 50 million different softwares and tabs that we're trying to keep track of, and the more that we can simplify, the better, right? So in this video, I want to talk to you a little bit about a couple of different ways that you can utilize some of the features within ClickUp in order to manage and keep tracks of leads in your pipeline, sales that you're accruing, and your clients, from onboarding to managing a client project and offboarding them. Before we dive into all the juicy good stuff, if you are someone who's not super familiar with ClickUp, I'm going to be talking assuming you kind of already know how ClickUp works. So if you're not familiar, make sure to watch this video here where I walk you through the entire ClickUp tutorial so you're really going to understand how this tool works. So make sure to stay tuned till the end, because I of course have a bonus tip for you that actually has nothing to do with ClickUp, but is one very simple magic question that you use in your client management processes that can make your marketing 10 times more potent. Okay, so whether you're a coach or a social media manager, somehow you need clients to reach out to you and express that they're interested, right? Now, for coaches, many people have courses that are just sold passively, and we're not really talking about those. So we're really talking about the services that you're needing to have inquiries come in, track those leads in your pipeline, and then track actual individual people and projects throughout, again, another timeline. So for coaches, a lot of people will have either live programs or services where you have to submit an application first. So one way that people may need to get in contact with you and that we're going to start your sales pipeline or your leads pipeline is with an application, which I'll show you in just a second. A second way that we're going to start our sales pipeline here is with an inquiry form. So this is pretty simple. It's most likely like on your contact page where you have a form for people to reach out and say, hey, I'm interested. What am I interested in? Give them a little bit of information. This is typically filled out either to request a discovery call or a sales call, or it is filled out just to kind of generally get in contact with you, and then most likely will lead to a discovery or a sales call or some sort of furthered sales process. So this is the beginning step, and we want to look at how do you initiate this in ClickUp in order to then get all of that information about these leads who are interested in a pipeline and in an organized fashion so that you can further them along that process. This is exactly what a CRM tool does, very similarly to Dubsado or Honeybook, which are amazing tools as well, but they may not be necessary, and they are yet another tool that you would then have to go set up. One thing to note about using ClickUp as a CRM system is it does not automatically send contracts and invoices, but I will mention a couple of things in a minute in ways that you can incorporate that using automations. The third way that you're going to start this process of tracking all of your leads is with a client roster. And so a client roster, the only way that that's a little bit different is that it's typically not some sort of application or form that people are inquiring about. It's typically filled out once someone has already purchased from you. So for example, I had a program where there was no application and there was no inquiry form for, it was just a sales page, and you were able to purchase and sign up. You of course could DM me, ask me questions, things like that. But otherwise, there wasn't another step before purchasing for me to want to track your information on a detailed manner. Once someone purchased from me, because I had lots and lots of students in this program, I then in their welcome email after purchasing would send them a form, which was an intake form to go on my mass client roster. That way I was able to go ahead, and these people have already purchased from me, and make sure that I have all their contact information, all their payment information, information about them and their businesses. You really get to customize it to what information you need to, one, keep track of for data purposes, to make decisions, to make marketing decisions, and of course, just to best serve and manage that client. Okay. So I've opened up my computer and we're going to dive into my computer, take a look at my screen and go through a couple of these examples. Okay, so our first example is looking at a leads pipeline, essentially. So this is most likely going to be from an inquiry form that people are filling out because they're interested in any of your services. I'll show you an application and a client roster next. So with this is just an example. So you're going to definitely want to customize this to you and your team. But as you can see over here, we have different statuses that are keeping track of where people are at in our pipeline. So again, this is very similar to Dubsado and the functionalities that you would be relying on there. So what we have here is a form, and this is going to be really important as for all of the examples that I'm giving you, this is actually the starting point of putting client information in these lists. So ideally, this is the client filling this out, but it could actually just be your team as well, making sure we've got all that information inputted in there. So for this form, this is an example one-on-one coaching form. Let's say that you're a coach. And so this would be either like embedded on your website. We could rename this like inquiry form, and maybe it's not just for one-on-one coaching. Maybe there is like a drop-down option where it says, are you interested in package A, package B, package C? So you're going to customize this to you, but we want to go ahead and get kind of all the logistical information from them. Here we have, again, that like package that they're interested in. And then you're going to want to ask yourself, okay, how in depth and how much information do I want to ask of this person? When it's an inquiry form, we typically want to keep it a little bit shorter because the person hasn't actually committed to purchasing from you yet. But whatever questions you decide to ask, you're going to ask them here. And you want to be able to ask questions to give that person accurate information to move forward, to sell to them specifically, and to maybe figure out what you need to send them next, right? So establishing your process as a whole, as a sales process, is going to be important to you actually fully utilizing the actual tech here that we're looking at in ClickUp so that it makes sense for you. But let's say someone fills out this form. Now they're going to pop in here and we are going to be able to move them throughout this process. When they come in, we can even set up automations in ClickUp that will automatically, let's say, assign me a subtask to be able to review the application. So I'm going to review blah, 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 their name. And you can actually set all this up in automations. In ClickUp itself. So once I review the application, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to be able to see all of the answers that they filled out. And I may even want to add certain things in here as well. So as you can see, we actually have like an intake form, and maybe you have a certain Google Drive folder for the client. Maybe you want to go ahead and put a start and an end date, or maybe instead of start and end date, we want to make sure and track how often are we having to follow up with this client, because this is technically a lead, not a client yet. So you can utilize all of these custom fields here over on the right-hand side to really figure out, again, what information do I need to understand to really follow up and keep track of things. Another example might be that if you change a certain drop-down menu, or maybe it's triggered within an automation a couple of days after this lead has been in this status, you could have that automatically create a new subtask that says follow up with and then their name. So that's one reason that I love using ClickUp as a CRM tool, is because it's integrated with your task management. It's integrated all in one place with your daily to-dos, so that you're not having to toggle back and forth and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't checked my other like Dubsado or CRM tool in so many days, like I've probably been ignoring certain clients, right? So we've got this all in one place. So as you move through, we're gonna, let's say you have discovery calls. So once that is booked with the client, maybe we're gonna need to email them back and forth to set that up. We'll move them up here. Maybe we add in some more information about them. And as you can see here, the statuses we have are, okay, so they said yes, let's say on a discovery call, we move them up. Once they start their contract, they're an active client. Maybe they say no, and we move them down to a dead lead. So again, you can set this up custom for you. One other thing though that I wanna show you inside of here that can be really helpful for CRM purposes is you can actually set up email with your clients. So once you add this on within your ClickUp settings, you can come down here to send an email, and you can actually send the email as long as they filled out that email form. You can type that in here or type in any email, and you can keep track of the email communication back and forth here. This will also be connected to your Gmail. So this is where you can have those back and forth conversations, and you can also actually create email templates. So if we go here, we don't actually have any created, but I could add an email template and then simply just click here for follow-up number 1 or follow-up number 2 or book your discovery call. And then from there, if you don't want to do that manually, you can set up automations as well, where once something happens, as you can see here, these are all the different automations we can set up with email. So maybe when a task is created, aka a new lead fills out the form, then we're automatically going to send them an email saying, yay, thank you so much for your inquiry. Here's the link to book a discovery call. So this is many of the same automations and actions that you're looking for in a typical CRM system that, again, ClickUp has the power to do. Next, let's look at a client roster. So moving here into my computer, as you can see, we just have kind of one status, keeping it really simple, of new students. If you wanted to add more statuses, depending on if when people sign up for you, how long are they working for you? Do you want to keep this roster of all of your past clients as well, or past students? However you want to keep track of that is totally up to you. But same thing here, what we would do is go ahead and add a form, and then we can determine and move any of these custom fields into that form, have that link for someone that once they purchase from you, maybe you, depending on how they purchase from you, they're automatically sent, an email. Typically for us, we do that in ActiveCampaign, which is our email marketing software. And we're going to say, yay, please fill out this form. So then they're going to fill this out, and you can, again, set up like an automated subtask to notify you, hey, new student has filled out their form. But here's where we're going to, again, just be able to always come to this one central hub of all of our current and active clients and say, okay, cool, what are their addresses? I want to send them a gift. What are their Instagram handles? Let's shout them out. And this really allows your team, who's going to also typically be working in ClickUp for going through social media tasks and projects and launches and all these things. Again, they don't have to keep going to an external tool to get all of this information. I also love being able to look at this from this custom viewpoint that honestly is not available in Dubsado and other CRM tools, where I can look at a glance and I can customize these options and move them around and look at, hey, how many of my clients chose a 6-month pay in full option? Well, we obviously only have one client on the screen right here, but what we can do is group this differently, maybe by a custom field, maybe by payment plan. And then I'd be able to see all the different students who have a 6-month plan. So the more data that you're collecting from your clients, the more ways you're able to sort it and understand maybe how many types of social media managers do you serve? How many people choose the pay in full versus the non-pay in full option? And so data is really, really powerful, and not just wanting to keep track of clients, but being able to sort through that data. I find ClickUp is by far the absolute winner and easiest way to do that for all of your clients. Now, the last one we're going to look at is an application. So this application I have used in the past as an example for a podcast application for someone to be on a podcast, but to be honest, it's the exact same when someone wants to then apply, if you have an application process rather than just like a general inquiry form where they're submitting an application. So I would say the biggest difference there is an application is very intentional with a lot more intent of, I want to purchase this thing. The link is not available for me to purchase your offer. I want to be considered for this offer, but you need to approve information about me. So with an application, you probably want to ask some more detailed questions to really determine, is this person going to be a good fit or not? So what I find very different with an application process, as you can see here on my screen, is you normally don't have quite the sales pipeline of setup for a discovery call, and then you might go through multiple vetting processes. A lot of times people will use just an application as a vetting process, but for you, if you also then have a discovery or sales call after that, you can absolutely just add that in as another status here. So what happens is once they fill out the form here, same thing as before, they'll pop up here in new applications. We can set up a subtask that says review the new application or the new lead. And then we can review all the information and we can send them an email. So very similarly to before, we're going to let them know, hey, you've been approved and invited to sign up for our program, or maybe you haven't. We can save some leads maybe for later. Maybe they're just not quite ready for the offer that you have available. And so again, when we have this one central hub, you're able to continually come back to all the leads that maybe aren't a good fit now, or maybe that, ghosted you and you want to follow up. Now, I told you one of the missing pieces in ClickUp is a couple of those emails and sending contracts and invoices that aren't quite possible inside of ClickUp. So if you do choose to use these forms and inquiries and processes that we've just looked at in order to manage all of your clients, then you may need to use a couple of external tools just to be able to send and manage those invoices and contracts. So for us, we typically use ThriveCart, which allows you to create links and products, not only for services and different payment plans, but also for, digital, physical products, things like that as well. So it's very versatile. I definitely highly recommend it. And then for contracts, instead of having a built-in contract sender inside of ClickUp, all this stuff is just connected via Zapier, and we will send contracts, or you can just do it manually via VA. But we just send contracts via Sign Now, which is another tool, not sponsored, but that we really like using in our business. So if you're already starting to become as obsessed with ClickUp as I am, make sure and check out some of our other videos here about a lot of other amazing ways that you can utilize ClickUp, and check the description links below, as we've got some ClickUp templates that I have built out that you can actually completely take for yourself. Okay, so the second and last piece that I want to show you is once you take a lead and a client up to the point of actually being a client, saying yes, right? We've talked about contract, invoice, taking them through discovery call processes, things like that. The next thing you may want to build out in ClickUp is a little bit more extensive and separate arena for you to track actual specific projects per client, because it's one thing to just have maybe an ongoing list of their name and details and information, but for many service providers, you have a lot of different steps involved in a web design process, in a social media management process. If you have a team, you probably need your team involved in multiple different steps that just simply can't be managed underneath all one board for all of these clients. So I highly recommend building out individual lists inside of ClickUp that become essentially templates that you can rinse and repeat and duplicate for each new client you get for each type of service that you offer, where you have all of the different steps now from the point of onboarding them, saying yes, what happens for you to take them through your specific process to achieve the result, right? If you're a web designer, how do we take them through now? Okay, do they need to make a Pinterest board? Do we send that to them? Are they maybe inside of the ClickUp board with you, and the client gets assigned tasks and you get assigned tasks and your team members do? I've seen it done so many different ways, but no matter how you do it, ClickUp is amazing at allowing you those different options for either just you and your team to track individual client projects, or for you and your client collectively to work through different client tasks together to accomplish that project as well. So let's head back inside my ClickUp and let me show you a couple of examples here. Okay, so what we're looking at here is a project planner, and this is one option where you are able to track active clients, but we don't want to use that same way that we were tracking them through all the different statuses of discovery call, this and that. I really recommend setting this up in a separate board. I'm going to show you a different option though in a minute as well, where each client would get their own list, because in this instance, we have each client listed here, but they're all together, and we have different more so stages that are happening inside of a project. So that via different views that I'm going to show you in a second, you'd be able to see all the different clients that you have going on at once, and kind of what types of tasks and aspects of the project are happening at once. So I find this specific way of managing client projects very useful for people, especially that have agencies and teams, and that have not so much the rinse and repeat type of clients like a social media manager, where you kind of do the same thing every month. This is more helpful for project-based services that entrepreneurs do. So what I find most helpful about this is, let's say you have a new client and there's a 4-week process that they go through, and maybe this is a type of package that we have here. So the thing I like about this is we can look at this from a couple of different views, where you're able to see from a perspective like this, what is happening. So this is the overarching client and maybe how long you're working with them. So we can kind of see now, okay, how many clients at once are we managing? But this too is where we can see what type of weeks and we're working on each phase of the project. Now I'm a very color-coded person, so I actually like this view a little bit better, but I'm showing you kind of all of them so that you get a chance to see. So because we have broken things up into different statuses. You can see that's what it's grouped with here. And if we go back to the list, these are the statuses, but right here, we've made each kind of phase of the process that we want it to be a different color, a different status. So what I'm able to look at now here is essentially the same information. I want to know kind of how many clients and what clients are me and my team all managing at once. But let's say that it was, the 16th here. I'm able to look at and say, okay, well, I'm doing, a little bit of planning. I'm only doing one aspect of brand strategy and a little bit of copywriting. But, if we only have one copywriter and we had a bunch of different clients and we had like 3 different projects that we're supposed to have copywriting that week, that could be really problematic. So we need to communicate with clients, space that project out in some manner. So this is a little bit more from a bigger picture project management, client management role, less from the nitty-gritty micro tasks, because obviously within planning, that's a very vague task. As you look at the micro steps of working with one specific client, you probably want some more micro details in that. So the other example that I will show you guys is here. And this is an example, let's say that you are a designer, and again, this is going to be something you rinse and repeat, AKA like duplicate for every single client now as you manage them through your process. So what you can see here is we've got maybe some information at the top, and we've got different stages of the project and then all of the different steps below. So we decided to use tags since we, in this example, are inviting the client into this project to make it really clear which one is for, the agency or the client. So in phase 1, these are all the steps we're going to go through, and these can be assigned to you, your team. You can, of course, comment and add uploads and all the different things in here. So again, it's like this really core, easy one hub that if you do decide to invite clients into, they don't really need like a client dashboard or hub that sometimes you'll find in other client management systems. You can really just put all the information here. I, of course, love this extra because we can always add these different custom fields. Now, another tab you might have maybe is a more extensive client info where you just have all of the reminder of the info. Maybe you track more detailed stuff like invoices. If you wanted to keep this type of stuff here, maybe instead of or in addition to one overarching, just like active client list. So these are a couple of different ways that you can keep track now of your clients' projects as well. And very similarly to how in a typical CRM system, like again, Dubsado or Honeybook, you create different workflows that will happen not just for onboarding, but to manage the project as well. You may have a dashboard area inside of Dubsado where they're able to access their contract. Here, we might just upload it for the client to be able to access in this list here. Further, throughout the progress of the process, let's say of this web design project that you're working through, you can use the exact same ClickUp features. Like when a task is complete, we send an email. So very similarly to how you'd add additional workflows throughout a project in Dubsado or Honeybook, you can do that here as well. That when you click off a certain task, a client gets an email that says, hey, phase 1 of your design project is complete, here are next steps or yada, yada, or here's an update. So there's really so many different ways that you don't need to make it complicated, but you can add some very elaborate and automated ways into ClickUp, especially for it not intending to be a CRM tool. So if you are someone who is loving this and really wanting to get all of your foundations and systems set up to scale to a 6-figure business, check out our signature group coaching program, Laptop Lifestyle Bootcamp, because this is exactly the kind of stuff that we're helping you do, is really set up those 6-figure foundations so that you're not just freelancing, chasing after client, that you've got these professional stuff really set up and organized and set in place for you to be able to continue to impress clients and be able to scale. Now, last thing for you, I promised you a little extra bonus tip of something that has nothing to do with ClickUp, but it does have to do with some of the things that I actually showed you in there as just a very simple question to ask inside of your client management processes. And that question is, how did you find me? So you may already be asking this. If so, kudos to you. If you're not, please ask this question on the intake form, on the inquiry form, on the application, on the student roster, however it is that you're collecting that client data. This is so important to understand, hey, where are you following me? How did you find me? So that we can start to understand which parts of our online presence are really being those tipping points or really being those nurturing points for clients to want to work with us, right? Because these are the people reaching out to work with us and to purchase from us. So I hope you love this video with ClickUp, all things. If you guys have other videos to request with ClickUp or online business stuff that you really want to see some behind the scenes and tutorials of, I would love to hear from you. So definitely comment below and let me know what that would be. And of course, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button for us to keep creating this content for you. You can also check out some of these other videos here with lots more good content on how to grow your business, your email list, marketing, Instagram tips, and of course, if you want to travel the world, we've got a really great digital nomad locations playlist with lots of things around the world. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you in the next video.